The hidden cost of agriculture. Around 12,000 years ago, humans made a decision that changed everything. It gave us cities, governments, written language, science, technology, empires. It made the modern world possible. And yet, according to some historians, anthropologists, and evolutionary scientists, it may have also been one of the most costly transitions in human history. Because for nearly 300,000 years, humans lived one way. Then, almost overnight in evolutionary terms, we began living another. And the consequences of that shift are still shaping your life today. To understand why, we need to travel back to a world before farms, before cities, and before civilization itself. A world that was, in many ways, completely alien to the one we know. For most of human existence, people lived as hunter-gatherers. Small bands of perhaps 20 to 50 individuals moved through forests, grasslands, coastlines, and river valleys. They hunted animals, gathered plants, shared resources, adapted to changing environments. There were no officers, no taxes, no landlords, no clocks, no permanent homes. And surprisingly, many anthropologists argue that these early humans often worked fewer hours than modern people. Their lives were difficult in certain ways. Food could be unpredictable, injuries could be dangerous, survival was never guaranteed. But evidence suggests they also enjoyed long periods of leisure, strong social bonds, and remarkable freedom. Then something unexpected happened. In several parts of the world, humans began experimenting with a new idea. Instead of following food, they would grow it. What started as a small innovation would become the foundation of every civilization that followed. Historians call it the agricultural revolution. Archaeologists believe agriculture first emerged independently in several regions of the world. One of the earliest known centers was the Fertile Crescent, stretching across parts of modern-day Iraq, Syria, Turkey, and Iran. Around 10,000 BCE, humans began cultivating wild wheat and barley. Similar transformations occurred elsewhere. In China, rice cultivation emerged along the Yangtze River. In Mesoamerica, people domesticated maize. In the Andes, potatoes became a staple crop. Across thousands of years and vast distances, different societies arrived at the same revolutionary idea. Instead of adapting to nature, nature could be adapted to human needs. At first, it seemed like a miracle. Food became more predictable. Communities could remain in one place. For the first time, humans could create food surpluses. And food surpluses changed everything. When a group produces more food than it immediately needs, not everyone has to spend their time finding food. Some people can become builders, others become priests, others become soldiers, others become rulers. Agriculture made specialization possible. Specialization made civilization possible. Villages became towns. Towns became cities. Cities became kingdoms. Kingdoms became empires. Within a few thousand years, humanity had transformed the planet. From one perspective, agriculture was the greatest success story in history. Human populations exploded, knowledge accumulated, technology advanced, life expectancy gradually improved. The world became more connected and more complex. But this is where the story becomes strange, because when scientists began comparing the lives of early farmers with those of hunter-gatherers, they discovered something unexpected. Many of the first farmers appear to have been less healthy. When researchers examined skeletons from early farming communities, they discovered surprising patterns. Many early farmers were shorter than the hunter-gatherers who came before them. Studies of Neolithic remains in Europe and the Near East reveal increased signs of malnutrition, enamel defects, and nutritional stress. One famous example comes from Çatalhöyük in present-day Turkey. Home to thousands of people around 9,000 years ago, it represents one of humanity's earliest large settlements. Excavations revealed evidence of infectious disease, crowded living conditions, and physical strain. Their diets became less diverse. Hunter-gatherers often consumed hundreds of different plant and animal foods throughout the year. Early farmers frequently depended on a handful of staple crops: wheat, rice, corn, barley. This created a more stable food supply, but often a less nutritious one. Archaeological evidence shows that many agricultural populations became shorter than their hunter-gatherer ancestors. Signs of malnutrition became more common. Dental problems increased. Disease spread more easily. And there was a simple reason why. For the first time, large numbers of people were living close together. Permanent settlements created new opportunities for infection. Domesticated animals introduced additional diseases. Waste accumulated. Crowded living conditions allowed pathogens to spread rapidly. Civilization was growing. But so were epidemics. Then came another consequence, one that may have changed human society forever: inequality. Agriculture transformed the structure of society itself. One of the clearest examples comes from ancient Mesopotamia. As farming produced larger surpluses, certain individuals gained control over land, storage facilities, and trade networks. Over time, economic differences became political differences. Political differences became class systems. The earliest cities soon contained rulers, priests, labourers, merchants, and slaves. Archaeologists can see this transition in burial sites. Some graves contain jewellery, weapons, and luxury goods. Others contain almost nothing. For perhaps the first time in human history, inequality became visible in the archaeological record. In hunter-gatherer groups, possessions were limited. If you move constantly, owning too much becomes a burden. But agriculture changed the equation. Land could now be controlled, stored food could be accumulated, resources could be inherited. For the first time, wealth could grow across generations. Some families gained more, others gained less. Social classes emerged, hierarchies hardened, power concentrated. The gap between rich and poor began to widen. Many of the social structures we take for granted today can trace their roots back to this moment. The agricultural revolution didn't just change how humans got food, it changed how humans related to one another, and it changed how humans thought about the future. For most hunter-gatherers, life was lived close to the present, but farming required something different. It required planning. Seeds planted today might not produce food for months. Success depended on predicting future conditions: rainfall, seasons, harvests, storage, risk. The future suddenly mattered in a way it never had before, and with the future came uncertainty. With uncertainty came worry. With worry came anxiety. Of course, anxiety existed long before agriculture. Our ancestors needed it to survive predators and threats. But agriculture expanded the number of things that could go wrong. A failed harvest could mean disaster. Drought could destroy entire communities. Disease could wipe out crops. Livestock could die. The stakes became larger. The risks became more complex. Human minds increasingly adapted to a world that demanded constant anticipation, a world where survival depended on thinking ahead. And perhaps nowhere is this transformation more visible than in modern life. Today, most people rarely worry about predators, yet many live in a nearly permanent state of stress: deadlines, bills, careers, status, retirement, economic uncertainty, social expectations, future planning. The human brain became extraordinarily good at imagining possible threats. The problem is that it never learned when to stop. Many psychologists describe the human mind as a prediction machine. Its job is not to make you happy. Its job is to keep you alive. And for thousands of years after agriculture emerged, survival increasingly depended on anticipating future problems. The result may be one of the defining experiences of modern humanity: overthinking, constant mental simulation, endless concern about outcomes that have not yet happened. The same cognitive abilities that allowed civilizations to flourish may also contribute to some of our greatest psychological burdens. But the hidden cost of agriculture extends even deeper, because agriculture didn't simply change human behavior, it changed human identity. Before permanent settlements, identity was often tied to relationships in immediate communities. After agriculture, identity became increasingly connected to ownership, status, occupation, and social position. Who owns the land? Who controls resources? Who holds power? Who belongs at the top? Competition intensified. Comparison intensified. The desire for status became increasingly important. In many ways, modern society still operates according to rules established thousands of years ago. Our technologies have changed. Our environments have changed. But many of the underlying social dynamics remain remarkably familiar. The pursuit of wealth, the struggle for recognition, the fear of losing status, the pressure to achieve. These forces did not appear overnight. They evolved alongside civilization itself. And this raises a fascinating question. What if some of the dissatisfaction people feel today is not simply a personal problem? What if it reflects a deeper mismatch between ancient human psychology and the world civilization created? After all, evolution moves slowly. Agriculture transformed society in only a few thousand years, but the human brain was shaped over hundreds of thousands of years. Many of our instincts were designed for small groups, direct relationships, and immediate environments, not global economies, not social media, not millions of strangers, not endless streams of information. The modern world is astonishingly new, yet we navigate it using cognitive systems forged in a vastly different reality. This doesn't mean civilization was a mistake, far from it. Agriculture enabled extraordinary achievements: medicine, science, art, literature, engineering, democracy. The very ability to study our own history emerged because civilization created the conditions for knowledge to accumulate. Without agriculture, the world we know would not exist. But perhaps that is exactly why this story matters. The agricultural revolution was not a simple victory, nor was it a simple tragedy. It was a trade. Humanity gained immense power over nature, but that power came with costs, some physical, some social, some psychological, and many of those costs remain hidden because they have become normal. We rarely question the systems we inherit. We assume they have always existed. Yet many of the pressures we experience today are surprisingly recent in the grand timeline of human history. The race for status, the obsession with productivity, the constant focus on the future, the feeling that there is always more to do. These may not simply be features of human nature. They may be echoes of a transformation that began thousands of years ago when our ancestors planted their first fields. And perhaps that is the deepest lesson agriculture has to offer. Every solution creates new problems. Every advance reshapes the human experience. Every revolution changes not only the world around us, but also the minds within it. Agriculture gave humanity cities like Uruk, states like ancient Egypt, writing systems, organized religion, taxation, bureaucracy, and eventually the foundations of the modern world. But civilization changed humanity in return. The question is not whether agriculture was good or bad. The question is whether we fully understand the world it created. Because if many of our modern struggles have roots in the distant past, then understanding that past may help us better understand ourselves. And maybe the most important discovery is this: the story of civilization is not just the story of cities, empires, and technology. It is the story of how humans slowly transformed their own minds, a transformation that is still unfolding today.